Welcome to my channel, USA Battle Zone. Today, I'm about to tell you a story that'll remind you why you should never judge a book by its cover, and why true strength often hides behind quiet eyes and gentle smiles. So sit back, because what starts as an ordinary day at a small town market soon turns into something unforgettable. The morning sun was still climbing when Tom Bennett parked his dusty old pickup truck beside the farmer's market in rural Tennessee. The air was rich with the scent of hay, roasted corn, and the sweet tang of apple cider. Tom stepped out, stretching his broad shoulders, his flannel shirt tugging over his round belly. His gait was slow, a bit heavy, the way a man moves when he's lived through both hard work and hard memories. Most people around town knew Tom as that big old farmer who keeps to himself. He sold honey, fresh eggs, and homemade jams from his small table every Saturday. Few knew much about his past, and that's just the way he liked it. He smiled and waved at the kids running past his stand. "Morning, folks," he said in that slow Tennessee drawl that made everyone feel at ease. He set out jars of honey, golden and thick as liquid sunlight, and opened a cooler full of chilled lemonade. It was shaping up to be a good day, until the roar of motorcycles shattered the peace. A pack of 6 bikers rolled in, their engines snarling like wild dogs. They wore black leather, patches of skulls, and sunglasses even though the sun wasn't that bright yet. The leader, a tall, scruffy man with a scar on his cheek and a snake tattoo on his neck, revved his engine one last time before cutting it off. The others followed, laughing, shouting, the kind of noise that made everyone turn away. They dismounted, swaggering into the market like they owned it. Tom watched quietly, one hand resting on his cane. He didn't need it to walk, not really, but it helped him keep steady, and more than that, it helped him remember. The bikers started heckling the vendors. One knocked over a basket of apples and laughed when the old lady running the stall flinched. Another grabbed a handful of grapes and stuffed them into his mouth without paying. The leader walked straight toward Tom's stand. "Well, what do we got here?" The man sneered. "Looks like Farmer Fatso's running a lemonade stand." The others burst out laughing. Tom didn't flinch. He just looked at the man and said calmly, "Mornin'. You fellas want something to drink?" "Oh, we want a drink," the leader said, snatching a jar of honey off the table. "But I don't think we're paying for it." Tom's eyes dropped to the man's hand, then lifted again. "That ain't right. Folks around here pay what's fair." The leader chuckled, taking a long step closer until he was inches from Tom's face. "And what are you gonna do if we don't?" For a moment, silence filled the space between them. You could hear the wind brushing through the cornfield behind the market. Tom's eyes, soft and tired just moments ago, changed. They sharpened, cold, focused, the kind of eyes that have seen war. "I'd really rather not do anything," Tom said quietly. "But you're pushing your luck." The biker laughed, shoving him hard. "You're not gonna do squat, old man." Tom stumbled back a half step, his boot grinding into the dirt. The crowd was watching now, phones out, nervous murmurs spreading. One of the bikers snorted, "Come on, Snake, leave the fat guy alone." But Snake wasn't done. No, I wanna see what this old lump thinks he's gonna do." He reached out and jabbed a finger into Tom's chest. "You think you're tough?" Tom sighed. He set down his cane. "Not anymore," he said softly. "But I used to be." The next few seconds happened faster than anyone could see. Snake swung a punch, but Tom sidestepped, catching the man's arm mid-swing. In one fluid motion, he twisted it behind his back, grabbed the back of his neck, and slammed him face first onto the table. The honey jar rolled off and shattered on the dirt. Gasps erupted all around. Before the others could react, Tom was already moving, calm, efficient, silent. One biker charged him, and Tom stepped aside, sending the man sprawling with a sweep of his leg. Another reached for him from behind, but Tom spun, striking his elbow into the man's ribs with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. 3 seconds. 3 men down. The rest froze. Snake groaned, lifting his face from the splintered table, sticky with honey and blood. "Who the hell are you?" he spat. Tom didn't answer at first. He just looked around at the broken jars, the frightened faces, the kids clutching their parents. Then he spoke quietly, voice carrying the weight of truth. "Name's Tom Bennett. Used to be Commander Bennett, United States Army. Delta Force. A hush swept over the market. Even the wind seemed to stop. Snake's eyes widened. You're lying. Tom didn't bother replying. The way he stood, balanced, alert, ready, said enough. The soldiers in the crowd, the veterans, they recognized it instantly. That kind of calm wasn't something you could fake. Tom looked at the fallen bikers, then at Snake. You've had your fun, he said. Now you pick up that mess, pay for what you broke, and ride out of here. You don't come back. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Snake nodded stiffly. Yeah, okay. They scrambled to their bikes, humiliated and shaken. One of them looked back at Tom, like he wanted to say something, but thought better of it. The engines roared again, and within moments, they were gone, the echo of their tires fading down the road. The market was silent. Tom sighed and started cleaning up the mess. Sorry about the show, folks, he said gently. Didn't mean to cause a fuss. But before he could bend to pick up a jar, a young boy ran up and grabbed it for him. Mister, that was awesome. The kid said, eyes wide. Tom smiled. Thanks, son, but it's not about being awesome. It's about doing what's right, even when you don't want to. An older veteran stepped forward from the crowd, tears glimmering in his eyes. Delta, huh, he said softly. Tom nodded. The man saluted. Welcome home, brother. Tom hesitated, then returned the salute. It was small, simple, but in that moment, it meant everything. A woman brought him a towel to wipe his hands. You shouldn't have to deal with that, she said kindly. Tom smiled faintly. Ma'am, I've dealt with worse. But thank you. He sat back down at his little table, poured himself a cup of lemonade, and looked out at the people who had gathered. The market slowly returned to life. Vendors calling, children laughing again, the normal rhythm of peace returning. But something had changed. The folks who once saw just a heavy, quiet farmer now saw the warrior beneath, the man who had fought for them long before they ever knew his name. Later that afternoon, as the sun began to dip and paint the sky in shades of gold and orange, Tom finished packing up his things. A few people stopped by to thank him, to shake his hand. One woman pressed a few extra bills into his palm. For the honey, she said with a smile. Tom nodded, though his eyes were a little misty. You take care now. As he loaded the last crate into his truck, he paused, looking across the market one more time. The laughter, the warmth, it reminded him of something he'd almost forgotten, why he fought in the first place. Not for medals, not for glory, but for quiet mornings, safe towns, and children who could laugh. Without fear, he looked up at the sky, whispering softly, guess I'm still serving, just in a different way. Then he climbed into his truck, started the engine, and drove down the dusty road toward home, the sun setting behind him, a slow golden fire fading into the horizon. When the bikers returned weeks later, this time without the noise or arrogance, they didn't come to cause trouble. They came to apologize. Snake approached Tom's stand, hat in hand. Look, we were wrong, he said. We didn't know who you were. Didn't know what you'd done. Tom smiled faintly. You don't have to know who a man is to treat him right, he said. Snake nodded, ashamed. You're right, we're trying to do better. Tom handed him a jar of honey. Then start here, he said. Snake looked down at it, then back up at Tom. You sure? Yeah, Tom said with a small grin. Everybody deserves a second chance. Snake smiled, for the first time that day, a real smile. Thank you, sir. When they left that time, the engines were quiet. Tom watched them go, then turned back to his stand, the faintest smile on his weathered face. Sometimes redemption came from places you least expected. So next time you pass a quiet man at a market, or a farmer selling honey by the side of the road, don't be too quick to judge. You never know what battles he's fought, or what kind of hero stands behind those kind eyes. Because real strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it just smiles and sells you a jar of honey. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true American stories right here on USA Battle Zone, where courage, redemption, and honor still mean something. Thanks for watching.